What's up, meta nerds? This complete breakdown of the MC90 will pull from every source available to completely understand how it worked and its history. After the MC series, from the MC30 to the MC80 variants, including the command ship Home One, all proved just how great the fishfolk Mon Calamari were at engineering, these vessels being mostly refits of civilian ships, some that were just civic buildings in their underwater cities. The fact that the Mon Cal fleet played such a huge role in toppling the massive machine that was the Empire is one of the greatest underdog stories in the galaxy far, far away, and of course culminated in the victory at Endor. And be sure to check out geekygrotto.com. They're amazing alternatives to LEGO. All the parts are compatible with official LEGO products, but because they're not official, they're a lot cheaper and you get a ton more creative options. Everything from tanks, all kinds of military stuff. The Kawaii collection has all kinds of cute stuff, so the range is incredible. Vehicles in general, and the space stuff I find particularly interesting. I gotta pick up one of these soon. Be sure to check them out, 10% off, link down in the description. When Coruscant was captured, the New Republic was now the governing body, and they set to work in creating their new line of ships, and the MC90 was approved just 6 months after the Battle of Endor. But the NR was still fighting Imperial remnant forces, and just working to make sure the galaxy didn't descend into anarchy and chaos with petty thugs moving in on systems. So this new ship line was shelved for a while, as NR forces tried to maintain order. But just the approval of this plan and the move to their own distinct uniform military force marks the start of a movement that would culminate in the New Class program. Since the rebels were taking every ship that would join them, these ragtag forces had just about every kind of vessel you could think of, and every shape or size imaginable, which robbed them of the economies of scale of being able to produce standardized parts and units for a coherent, planned-out fleet. One funny aspect often overlooked is that you might have a hangar full of mechanics that have no idea how to repair or service this new starfighter model that just floated in. 5 mechanics might be experts in 5 different ships, but not the 6th Mystery Edition. Of course, the same goes for pilots, and even commanders, who would be able to plan a better attack if they fully understood and had a long training history with each of their units. The confusion of the ragtag rebel forces had to be replaced with a standardized military, just like in the days of the Republic. The primary objective of the New Republic's New Class program was to design and construct starships that offered greater standardization in both internal components, such as command consoles, and external features, like their hull panels. The early phase of this initiative resulted in the development of vessels that were essentially upgrades of existing, widely used designs. These included the Corona-class frigate, Belarus-class medium cruiser, and the Republic-class Star Destroyer. And one of the key ships to emerge from this phase was the MC90 Star Cruiser, with the first ship, Defiance, completed shortly before the Battle of Mon Calamari in 10 ABY. This marked the first Mon Calamari-built warship for the Republic, all created through this standardized design process. That program also led to the development of 2 reconnaissance vessels, the droid-controlled Ferret class and the larger crewed Prowler class. An interesting combination of the wisdom from the CIS military, but also recognizing that some assets should be crewed by organics. As the new ships were introduced, the New Republic began phasing out the older starships, particularly those that had been converted from civilian or commercial use. The designs of the new class ships were influenced by Bevel Lamelisk's analysis of the captured worldcraft. And although the MC90 would inspire this movement, the first true new class vessel was the Sashin-class light escort. Following its success, the Republic Engineering Corporation, which led the engineering efforts of the program, decided to use the same engines, systems, keel, and hull to construct the Hagen-class fleet tender. This approach of using a base design to create multiple ship types became the foundation of the new class program. Ultimately, the program settled on 4 base designs with keel lengths of 190 meters, 375 meters, 700 meters, and 1040 meters, named after the first of each design. The 5th battle group was the first to consist entirely of new class vessels. Under the command of General Ethan Abbott, the group showcased their versatility and strength of the new class during the New Republic's engagements with the Yaveltha. And the new Class Modernization Program was completed around 20 ABY, 16 years after Endor. By this time, the MC90 had become one of the most formidable warships in the New Republic Defense Fleet, frequently serving as the flagships for fleets and task force. It was deemed a heavy star cruiser and cost 131,800,000 credits, which is still less than an Imperial Star Destroyer, which might say more about the excessive waste in the overly bureaucratic and corrupt intersection of Kuat Drive Yard boardrooms and Imperial overseers. Its length of 1,255 meters, or 0.78 miles, made it about a DP-20 gunship longer than the Venator, and about 78% of the ISD. Its hyperdrive was a Class 1, making it of the fastest ships in the galaxy without being a custom modded ship, and it is nice to see them keeping this Mon Cal aspect, as the Class 2 was more normal for capital ships, especially after the Clone Wars, but the fish folk swam against the norm and most of theirs had Class 1. It is said to have a main reactor that is 20% more than the ISD, peaking above 9.28 times 10 to the 24th watts, and its main shield and backup shields are simply described as increased, which I guess should be expected with being more than a decade newer than the shield gods of the MC80s. And if you think that is incredible, just look at the armament, and I really appreciate how specific the details are on the placement and the crew required to operate each of these guns. Normally the details here are kind of vague. With the MC90, we know that the ship is equipped with heavy turbo laser batteries totaling 75 in number, and these are distributed with a firing arc of 30 front, 15 each to the left, right, and rear, while a crew of 3 is required to operate each of them. And the atmospheric range of these turbo lasers is 150 kilometers, or about 93 miles. Then we have the heavy ion cannon batteries, with a total of 30 to 35 units. The firing arc for these is 10 front, 8 to 10 each at the left and right, and 4 to 5 rear, while these cannons require a crew of 7, and their atmospheric range is 100 kilometers, or 62 miles, while boasting 6 heavy proton torpedoes/missile tubes with a forward fire arc, each tube holding 16 missiles, and the crew required for operation is 15, while the atmospheric range for these torpedoes is 6 kilometers, or just under 4 miles. The ISD had no torpedoes, the Venator only had 4 tubes, no heavy torpedoes, but others in the MC line, like the MC30, had them. These weapons work perfectly with the heavy ion cannons, which lower the shields as quickly as possible, while the heavy torpedoes inflict the most damage as quick as possible. Now the total crew is 5,860 with those 605 gunners, though it could operate with a minimum crew of 1,350 and transport another 1,700 soldiers, which is all comparable with the Venator. Its cargo capacity of 30,000 metric tons is also about average, equal to around 50,000 dewbacks. These thoroughly impressive warships remained the height of Mon Calamari shipbuilding until the arrival of the Mediator-class battle cruiser. Older ships like the Galactic Voyager were kept in reserve and upgraded during Yuzon Vong War, but by then they functioned more as symbolic assets rather than active heavy warships. And even though newer Mon Calamari built warships, like the simply named Mon Calamari Heavy Cruiser and the Mediator, dominated the Galactic Alliance Defense Forces by 40 ABY, the MC90 was still regarded as a powerful frontline combat vessel, and this was shown when the Galactic Voyager was used as the flagship of Alliance Supreme Commander Cha Neathal. That's it for its breakdown, and as for behind the scenes facts, it made its first appearance in Dark Empire 2, way back in 1992. With those really specific details coming from the Jedi Academy sourcebook, Dark Empire sourcebook, the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, and Starships of the Galaxy. If you made it this far, please hit that like button, it really is the best way to help me out. Subscribe to see more, comment your thoughts, and check out these other videos, I'm sure you'll like them. But most important of all, remember, if you can blend the positives of a droid fleet, Imperial scale, and Mon Cal craftsmanship, your empire might really reign for 1,000 years. And the Force will be with you. Always.